are moments in life when you feel the weight of the world pressing against your chest. Moments when you lie awake at night wondering how much more your heart can take. Moments when the silence feels louder than any storm you have ever faced. And right now, someone hearing these words is carrying a burden so heavy that even breathing feels like an act of courage. You have fought, you have endured, you have prayed, and yet the struggle has stretched longer than you ever imagined. But listen closely, because this is not a coincidence. You didn't stumble upon this message by accident. Something in your soul is reaching for hope, and God is answering. God knows it's hard. God has seen every step, every tear, every silent prayer you've poured out when no one else was around, and God is about to send help. There are times when we tell ourselves we're strong, but the truth is that even the strongest hearts grow tired. You have tried to convince others that you're fine, but deep down you know you've reached a place where only God can lift you. And that is exactly where miracles begin. God never lets a faithful heart break without sending healing. God never allows a battle to continue without preparing a victory on the other side. The struggle you're facing right now is not proof that God has forgotten you. It is proof that God is working on something greater than you can see. The pressure is a sign of preparation. The waiting is a sign of positioning. The heaviness is a sign that God is shifting things in ways you cannot yet understand. There is someone listening who thinks, I'm tired. I don't know how much more I can take. And God sees that exhaustion. God knows the nights you cried yourself to sleep and told no one. God knows the days you forced yourself to keep going even though everything in you was begging for rest. God knows the moments you questioned your worth, questioned your purpose, questioned your future. Yet through it all, God kept you breathing. God kept you standing. God kept you alive, because your story isn't ending here. The help you've been praying for is already on the way. God is preparing to intervene in a way that will leave you speechless. There is something powerful that happens when a heart reaches the edge of its own strength. When you can no longer rely on your plans. When you can no longer lean on your own understanding. When you have no option but to turn fully toward God. That is when God steps in with a strength that does not break, a wisdom that does not fail, and a power that does not run out. God will never let you walk through fire alone. Even if the flames rise higher, God's protection rises higher still. Even if the road gets rougher, God's hand gets stronger. Even if the storm intensifies, God's presence becomes more evident than ever before. You may not realize it, but right now, God is surrounding you with a shield you cannot see. Doors you didn't even know existed are being prepared for you. People you have not yet met are being positioned to bless you. And the strength you need for the next chapter is being built inside you through the very struggles that feel so overwhelming today. God never wastes pain. God uses it to shape you, strengthen you, refine you, and remind you that your life is held in hands far more capable than your own. Sometimes help doesn't come in the form of immediate escape. Sometimes it comes in the form of inner endurance. God gives you a strength you didn't know you had. God fills you with a peace that doesn't match your circumstances. God whispers to your heart, hold on, I know it's hard, but this hardness is not your ending, it is your preparation. And maybe that's what you need to hear today. You are not failing. You are not falling apart. You are being carried. God is closer than you think. You've been asking, why does life have to be this difficult? Why does my journey feel so heavy? But I want you to consider something. What if the weight you're carrying is not punishment, but preparation? What if the struggle is not a sign of abandonment, but the shaping of someone who is destined for something far greater? God never strengthens a person without purpose. And God never allows you to face difficulty without providing a way through it. You may feel like you're walking through darkness, but God sees the path clearly. You may feel lost, but God knows exactly where you are. You may feel alone, but you are surrounded by a presence that has never left you for a single moment. There is someone listening who feels misunderstood. You've tried to explain your pain to others, but they can't see the depth of what you're carrying. God sees it. God knows it. God understands it in a way no human ever could. You don't have to explain your tears to God. God reads every one of them. You don't have to justify your weakness. God knows how much you've endured. You don't have to pretend to be strong. God already knows the real you. And God loves you through every struggle, every doubt, every broken moment. And right now, God is whispering to your spirit, help is coming. Not the kind of help that fades after a week. Not the kind of help that temporarily lifts your mood. Not the kind of help that leaves you dependent on temporary solutions, but real help, divine help. The kind of help that changes the direction of your life. The kind of help that moves mountains, opens doors, and breaks chains. The kind of help that reminds you that you have never been forgotten, never been overlooked, never been abandoned. Some of the greatest blessings arrive disguised in difficulty. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs come after seasons of deep struggle. And some of the most life-changing moments happen when you reach the lowest point and God lifts you higher than you ever imagined. You may not see the help yet, but it's coming. You may not feel the strength yet, but it's being built. You may not understand the purpose yet, but one day you will look back and say, God was working all along. Maybe you're in a season where everything feels uncertain. You're unsure of what comes next. You're unsure of how you will make it. You're unsure of who you can trust. But let me tell you something with absolute confidence. You can trust God. When everyone else fails, God remains faithful. When everything else shifts, God remains steady. When life feels overwhelming, God remains the calm in the middle of the storm. You don't have to know the whole plan. You just need to trust the one who holds the plan. There is someone who feels like the battle has lasted too long. You're thinking, how much longer will this go on? And God is saying, long enough for me to accomplish what I have planned, but not a moment longer. God does not let storms last forever. God does not allow seasons of pain without an expiration date. And God never lets hardship write the final chapter of your story. What you're facing right now is temporary, but the strength God is building in you will last for years. The lessons you're learning now will carry you for a lifetime. The resilience God is placing in your heart will prepare you for blessings beyond anything you've imagined. Sometimes we think help means everything becoming easy, but real help from God means God strengthens you so deeply that even when life is not easy, you stand firm. God gives you a courage that rises above fear. God gives you a peace that cannot be shaken. God gives you a clarity that cuts through confusion. God gives you a hope that refuses to die. That is the kind of help God is preparing for you. There is someone whose heart is tired because of repeated disappointments. You trusted and it fell apart. You hoped and it didn't happen. You prayed and the answer took longer than you expected. Now you're wondering if this is just how life will be. But I want to speak directly to that wounded place within you. Don't give up. Don't let disappointment convince you that God's promise is not real. Delays are not denials. Waiting is not rejection. And silence is not abandonment. God has not forgotten you. God is not finished with you. God is not ignoring your prayers. Sometimes the answer takes time because God is arranging something far bigger than what you ask for. When the help of God arrives, it never comes one day late. It never comes in the wrong form. It never comes in a way that leaves you confused or further broken. When God sends help, it comes with clarity. It comes with peace. It comes with a sense of divine timing that leaves you in awe of how perfectly everything unfolded. God knows what you need. God knows when you need it. God knows who needs to be involved. God knows which doors must open and which doors must remain closed. And God is working on all of it right now. There are battles you're fighting that no one knows about. There are tears you've cried that no one has seen. There are fears you've carried that no one has understood. But God knows. And not only does God know, God cares. God is not distant from your struggle. God is not indifferent to your pain. God is not watching from afar. God is closer to you in your hardships than during your happiest moments. When your heart breaks, God draws near. When your strength fades, God steps in. When your hope dims, God rekindles it with a spark that darkness cannot extinguish. You may feel like you're running out of strength, but God is not asking you to be strong for the rest of your life. God is asking you to trust Him for today, just this moment, just this next breath. God will give you strength for tomorrow when tomorrow comes. But for now, God is saying, let me carry you through this moment. And that is help. That is divine help. Not always the kind that removes the burden immediately, but the kind that makes sure the burden does not break you. Someone listening feels forgotten. You feel overlooked. You feel unheard. But the truth is, you are seen by the one who created you. God has been watching over your life since the day you were born. God has protected you in moments you never even knew were dangerous. God has blocked attacks you never saw. God has shut doors that would have destroyed you. God has kept people away from you who were not meant to walk with you into your destiny. That was help. You didn't recognize it then. But one day you will look back and realize that God was helping you long before you asked. And now, God is about to help you again, this time in a way that turns your weary heart into a testimony of God's faithfulness. You have been through enough pain. You have cried enough tears. You have fought enough silent battles. God is getting ready to lift you in a way that will restore everything the struggle tried to take from you. God is about to bring people into your life who speak encouragement, who bring peace, who carry compassion. God is about to remove the heaviness from your spirit and replace it with a strength that feels like renewal. God is about to open a door that no amount of opposition will be able to close. But before help arrives, God often allows you to reach a point where you finally release control. That is where transformation begins. That is where the breakthrough starts forming. Not when you're strong and confident, but when you say, God, I'm tired, I need you. That simple, honest admission becomes the place where miracles begin. God responds to humility. God responds to sincerity. God responds to the heart that says, I can't do this on my own. You may think your struggle means you're weak, but it doesn't. It means you're human. And God specializes in lifting the human heart into places of strength that human power cannot reach. God specializes in taking the weary and turning them into warriors. God specializes in taking the broken and turning them into examples of resilience. God specializes in taking what was meant to harm you and using it to strengthen you. You're not alone, not now, not ever. God is walking you through a valley that feels impossible, but the same God who allowed you to enter it will give you the strength to emerge from it stronger than you were before. The same God who watched you cry will be the God who wipes away the tears. The same God who saw your pain will be the God who brings you peace. The same God who knows how hard it's been is the God who is preparing to send help at the perfect moment. Your story is not over. Your strength is not gone. Your hope is not lost. You are being held by a power that does not fail. You are being guided by a wisdom that does not make mistakes. You are being covered by a mercy that never runs out. And very soon you will see with your own eyes that everything you endured was not wasted. Every tear watered the ground for a new beginning. Every struggle shaped you into someone who will be ready for the blessings God is preparing. Every hardship was carving depth, compassion, strength, and resilience into your soul. Right now, heaven is moving on your behalf. Right now, God is aligning things for your next chapter. Right now, help is being released. It may not look like it yet, but it's coming. You may not feel it yet, but it's coming. You may not understand how, but God is already making a way. God has not forgotten you. God has not overlooked you. God has not abandoned you. God knows it's hard, but God is about to send help. There are moments in life when the soul reaches a depth of struggle that words cannot express. Moments when you stand in the middle of your own life and wonder how a single heart can carry so much weight. And yet, even in those moments, when your strength feels drained and your hope feels faint, something inside you still whispers, maybe God hasn't finished with me yet. That whisper is not your imagination. It is God sustaining you when you don't realize you're being held. It is God keeping you upright even when everything inside you feels like collapsing. It is God telling you, I know how heavy this is, but I'm with you and I won't leave you in this place. Help is nearer than you think. You are not walking blindly. You are not fighting alone. You are not surviving on your own strength. God is closer to you than the fear that tries to suffocate you. God is closer than the doubt that tries to discourage you. God is closer than the battle that tries to break you. When life pushes you to the edge, God doesn't tell you to fear the fall. God says, let me lift you so you can see beyond it. The help God sends is not ordinary help. It is the kind that reaches deeper than your pain, stronger than your fear, and higher than your expectations. God is preparing to send you the kind of help that transforms what you thought would destroy you into the very thing that prepares you. Some of the greatest turning points in life begin in the most painful seasons. When everything around you feels uncertain, God uses uncertainty to push you into trust. When people walk away, God uses their absence to draw you closer to Him. When plans fall apart, God uses the broken pieces to build something more meaningful than what you originally pursued. You may be questioning the timing, the pressure, the losses, the setbacks, the delay. But God is not just watching your journey, God is directing it. God is allowing certain doors to remain closed because the path behind them would drain you. God is removing certain people because their presence would hinder your purpose. God is shifting you out of familiar places because comfort can sometimes limit growth. Help from God doesn't always arrive the way you expect. Sometimes God sends help through clarity. Suddenly you see something you used to overlook. You recognize something you used to tolerate. You understand something that confused you for years. That clarity is help. Sometimes God sends help through strength. One morning you wake up and the thing that crushed you yesterday no longer owns your spirit. That strength is help. Sometimes God sends help through stillness. You feel a peace that doesn't match your circumstances. That peace is help. And sometimes God sends help through redirection, by pulling you away from something you thought you needed so He can guide you toward what your soul truly requires. The very fact that you're still standing is a sign that God's hand has been on your life. You survived moments that should have crushed you. You endured storms that should have drowned your hope. You pushed through days when your heart was trembling. You didn't make it this far because of luck. You made it because God carried you. And if God carried you through the storms of yesterday, God will not abandon you in the challenges of today. The same God who held you then is holding you now. The same God who protected you before is protecting you now. The same God who made a way then is about to make a way again. There's a reason your spirit feels stretched. You're being prepared for something that requires more strength than your past demanded. There's a reason your faith feels tested. You're being shaped for a blessing that requires deeper trust. There's a reason certain battles seem relentless. You're being positioned for a breakthrough that will silence those battles once and for all. God doesn't allow pressure without purpose. God doesn't allow struggle without growth. Not one moment of this journey is wasted. Not one tear is meaningless. Not one prayer has gone unheard. Someone listening right now is thinking, I've been waiting so long. Why hasn't the help come yet?